What's good, people? Back here with another tutorial. Going to show you how to do some pseudo-FM natively within Renoise. Loading up a sine wave, going to our modulation tab, and we're going to do this pseudo-FM in our pitch modulation window here. I'm going to go ahead and crank this. We'll do it all the way to 96, which is the maximum range. And then we're going to bring in an envelope, a pitch envelope. These pitch envelopes are, it's not a true high frequency oscillator, and there's not a whole lot of control that you can have over the parameters, but you can get some interesting tones using this technique that kind of approximate FM. It's more like a pitch modulation instead of a true frequency modulation. I don't know, whatever. The pitch is frequency is pitch. So I think it is a kind of FM, although most FM synthesis actually is phase modulation as opposed to true frequency modulation. But in any case, that's kind of more of an academic discussion and doesn't really matter relative to this technique that I want to show you here today. So we've got our loop set on forward. You can set it on forward, backward, or ping pong, but forward or backward will give you the tightest loops. Forward giving you the tightest. And sustain is off. And we're just going to zoom in pretty close here. Some nice, harsh, tasty tones there as we pull that end loop for our end marker for our loop parameter in. And we can only really get so fine with it before we hit this max limit, and I think it's about 4 cells. Yeah, so 4 cells is the tightest we can get this parameter. And you can mess with the envelope and see if there are some better tones that you like. Sometimes it's more interesting if you pull it out a little bit more. I like the nice, harsh, crunchy ones because you can filter those later and get some interesting sounds. But let's do something without filtering. Let's modulate this pitch envelope. Modulate the intensity of this pitch envelope so we can get some different tones. So as it is, again, we're at our maximum pitch range here. So we got some nice crunchy sounds here. Let's throw an operand in here, and we'll set this to multiply. And so when this is set to 0, we have our original tone, and then as we scale up this operand, we're multiplying by this pitch envelope more and more as we approach 1, till we have the full value there. We can also go to -1. And let's just tie this operand to a macro. And we'll go in and we'll use our macro control doofer to modulate this macro. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my last video where I showed you how to use basically the instrument macros device within the instrument effect chain tied to LFOs and key trackers to modulate internal parameters. So I'm just going to dial this up. And I'm going to set this range from 0 to 1 because I don't really need that negative value because it doesn't change the sound at all. And then I have a little bit clearer visual cue for the intensity of modulation here. So I'm going to go into a phrase and create a phrase. And we're just going to we're going to repeat this. I'm going to copy this and place my cursor on the 4th line and hit Command P, and then that populates it. Actually, I suppose I could have used my Y value in there already. But it doesn't matter. We'll do it this way. This is fine. And I'm going to set my Y value to C. For those of you who aren't aware, the Y is a probability command. It stands for the Y in the word maybe. And these are hexadecimal values here, these second 2 digits. C0 corresponds to 75% probability. So what this is saying is we're going to trigger C4, or actually whatever note we play on the keyboard will be transposed with a probability of 75%. I want this first one to trigger regardless, so I'm going to remove the probability generator on it. We're going to head back to our waveform view, or actually our modulation view. Okay, so now we've got some nice random pseudo-FM modulating with each key press. And I'm just going to change the shape of the amplitude envelope here. Okay, so we've already got a nice tasty little FM line without even touching our filter section yet. We could change the panning on this if we want it to bounce around. Just slap a random LFO on the panning parameter with the frequency pulled all the way down to 0. This will instantiate a new random value with each key press. And let's throw a filter on there. I'm partial to the bandpass clean, so we'll do that. We'll bump the resonance a little bit here, see how it sounds. Yeah, I think I want high pass actually. Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm gonna dial the resonance down a little bit. And we'll do the same trick with the random LFO. Take the frequency all the way down. Amplitude, this is going to basically modulate at the full scale of the input because we're close to the center. I want it maybe not such a wide range of values. I'm going to bring this back to the center and then kind of dial it into taste. Okay, so that already is kind of cool, at least as far as I'm concerned. You know, you can always slap some effects on there. I mostly produce psytrance, so that's going to be that's going to be delays and reverbs. We'll throw a ping pong delay on there, and we'll throw a reverb on there as well, and we'll just have a listen here. So, you know, that's usable, or at least a good starting off point, all from a simple sine wave using a envelope generator in our pitch section of modulation to do a very fast pseudo-FM pitch modulation, and then we're altering the amount tied to the instrument macro with each key press. So then with one press of the key, you've got this kind of self-contained oscillating phrase. You can, if you wanted to, let's say we'll bypass the effects here. And we'll render this out. Actually, let's do C4. And we'll right click on our pattern, and we'll do selection in sequence, and we'll render this. We'll call it pseudo-FM. And we'll bounce this out. And then when our Finder window comes up, we can just bring it back into Renoise. This is a nice little trick. Go to your waveform view. Let's normalize this. And let's, it would be handy if we could just slice this using the slice tool, but I have a feeling it's not going to hit our transients. So I'm going to use chop sample. And I think I can get away with 16 here. Let's see. No, it looks like I need 32. So we'll go to slices, chop sample. Great little tool. If you don't use it, you should. Chop it on 32. And you can see this hits our transients nicely. We want to just leave the ones that we want to keep and delete the ones we don't. And we can listen to this and see. I think this is all one. I might have missed one here actually. Let's draw this guy over here. Looks pretty good. That looks like one. Take this off, that's one. Take this off, that's one, and that's one. Okay, so we've got our hits here. This one I'm curious about. I think I'm going to take that off. I don't think that's a separate hit. And let's just listen to what we've got here. Okay, so that's B4. So that is our, I think that's this one, is that right? No, it's this one. So that was another hit. So we'll go to our slice tool, place this in, snap it to beats. Oh, that's another way I could have done it. No? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. There we go. Okay, we're going to call that good enough for the sake of demonstration here. We'll go back to our main sample, and then we'll go to process, go to slices, then destructively render slices. Failed to render a sample, error code, a file is empty or not a valid audio file. Well, that sounds like bullshit to me. Let's get off the slice tool because this is fucking shit up. Pardon my language. Slices, destructively render slices. Failed to render a sample. File is empty or not a valid audio file. But why? That doesn't seem right to me. Well, that's a bit of a hang up. Let's just try again here. We'll copy this. We'll go to a new instrument slot. We'll paste it. And this time we'll snap 16ths and we'll use our slice tool. Slice, 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 slice. And I believe these were 2. That's 1. This is a much better way to do it. Forget what I said about chop sample. It's bullshit. Just kidding. Chop sample, I love you. Okay, that looks good. And then slices, destructively render slices. We'll delete this first one. And then we're going to go through, make sure that your sample editor window is selected. And we're going to normalize all of these just so we got more bounce to the ounce. And what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you a way to create another kind of random sample using samples. Sorry, random sequence using samples. We'll create a phrase. We'll do the same sort of phrase here. We'll put a YC in there. Oops, YC. And we'll select these 4, hit copy, go down to the next one, hit P, or Command P rather, to populate, and then delete that first probability command. So now if we play this, it's going to be a mess. Oh, it's not a mess. It just plays whichever key we play. But if we go to key zones, and we hit layer, and then we go to our overlap and play random, we now have a tasty, nice little random sequence. And then this, we can, of course, modulate however we want in the modulation tab. We can have per note modulation. We could have the, say the pitch modulate with each key press. Put this at 24. If you're into that sort of thing, you can have that sort of thing. Or you can, do it with filters. Let's try the bandpass this time. Same sort of trick. You can, tighten up this envelope if you want a little more predictable sound. Sky's the limit. Just wanted to show you that's another useful trick that you can use to create these kind of pseudo-random sequences. Well, I guess it's actually, it's as random as the number of samples that you have. But that can be a really useful kind of starting point for these sequential sounds that it's kind of generative. You just press one key and you never know what you're going to get. So anyway, that's what I got for you today. Try it out, see if you like it. And if you need that macro control doofer, check my previous video on macro automation within instruments in Renoise. All right, make lots of music. Thanks, everybody.